Talktainment Radio, worldwide sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio, the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
All right. Good morning and welcome to the 2019 January 9th Compensatory Concept Show with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is radio the way it should be heard. Okay, now we need you to call in at 1-877-932-9766. If you prefer to listen to the show and view the show, you can by listen and view by going to the YouTube channel and type in the word Talktainment. And then you will scroll down to a place where you can type in the word radio and then scroll down to Talktainment number 2 and you're there. Hit the like and subscribe button while you're there. You can also do it this way if you want to email your question, maybe your VGQ in, and you can do so by dialing up 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, the numeral 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at gmail.com. And let's see, you can go to facebook.com/Talktainment. You can do it that way, but this is the way that we would prefer you do it. Just go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage and just click on Listen Live, and you're able to hear the show. Hit the subscribe and like button there also. Okay. Well, we're going to start off with 2019 here on January the 9th. We're going to have Mr. Fuller address the topic, the main topic today, nutrition as a weapon in the system of white supremacy, racism. We're going to start off with that, with all the stuff that's going on with food, water contamination. I believe there was a recall of romaine lettuce, at least in this particular area, and then I saw a report a couple of days ago about fish in the Pacific Northwest around the Seattle area that had contamination of drugs in them, all kind of drugs, and the food supply is bad. And then in the Industrial Revolution, what that did is usher in different kinds of plants into the land and took out a lot of the indigenous plants. That's bad. And then that promoted the production of GMOs, seedless grapes, seedless oranges, and all that, which are not good for the body. But anyway, this stuff is being pushed because of money. Anyway, we will have Mr. Fuller address that in a compensatory counter-racist response. So, yes, that's what we will do. Okay, with that being said, let's get out of the way and introduce to some and present to others Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Mr. Fuller, as our custom is, good morning and how are you?
Good morning. I'm still learning.
You are still learning. Okay, with the base question being nutrition as a weapon in the system of white supremacy, racism, what would be one of your thoughts in a compensatory counter-racist response?
Well, I'll just go by what I wrote in the code, since that's the subject for today. The only way that and people have asked me about nutrition and health in fact, they've said that health should be an added, in addition to the 9 areas of activity. The 9 areas of activity as outlined in the textbook for victims of racism are listed as economics, education, entertainment, labor, law, politics, religion, sex, and war. And a lot of people down through the years have said, why didn't I add health? Well, my position has been that I thought the nine areas as they were was adequate, because if everything is the way it ought to be in economics, education, entertainment, etc., then that is health. Because particularly that would come under economics if you just wanted to pick a category. Economics meaning the use of time and energy. Well, food is time and energy. The nutrition, what it takes to make the body function correctly. And in the system of white supremacy, there's no way to stop them from contaminating the food. You just have to do the best you can, because it's prison food. Always go back to the premise. If you're classified as non-white here in 2019 and the years before then, and you're on the planet called Earth, you are a prisoner of war. So naturally you eat prison food. And prison food is not the best type of food that a person can eat. And you can expect that, but you do the best you can. When you're given a selection to choose from, all of the selections may be poisonous, every last one of them, because all food, period, even at its best, carries a certain amount of poison. This is why the body is designed to get rid of a percentage of waste, even under the best conditions. And we're not under the best conditions. So the white supremacists will continue to poison the food that their prisoners eat, because that affects the brain and the body, and that will guarantee that the white supremacists have another factor that they use in controlling the minds and bodies of their prisoners of war. So you just do the best you can. That's the only thing that I can say about that. I think that's kind of short and to the point, but that is the reality of it. You just try to keep up with whatever the best food is supposed to be in whatever area of the world you happen to be in, and try to eat only those foods that will give the body the best nutrition as best you can. I'm thinking about, even as I'm talking now, I often refer to that movie Shawshank Redemption as having a lot of lessons in it. And there's a scene in the movie, because it's a movie about a prison, and the prisoners in the prison, one of the opening scenes, or near the opening scenes of the movie, is when the people are assembled in the mess hall, they call it, or they're at breakfast, and one of the characters looks down at his food, and he sees something move in the food, and he picks it out, and it seems to be a great big worm of some type, okay? And that is, you can expect that in prison food, particularly back in those days and whatnot. You have worms in your food, so you just pick the worms out if you can. And of course, that's what the prisoner did in the scene in the movie. He just took the one worm out that he saw something move, turned out to be a worm, or something that looked like a worm, some type of insect, and he just picked it out, a live insect, out of the food. And then he ate the rest of the food, because that was the only food that was available. And using that as a benchmark, you might say, that would apply to all of the non-white people throughout the entire planet right now, with all of the aluminum waste and the plastic waste and everything else, arsenic in the fish, etc. Just do the best you can with the prison food, because the white supremacists do what?
With that being said, nutritionally, it seems to me, and studies and the data suggests that nutritionally, we as black people do not understand what nutrition is. We do not understand how it works, particularly concerning the use of sugars, which are refined sugars. Let me get that straight. Refined sugars, which seems to be toxic because of what it produces in us. Obesity, diabetes, all types of diseases, and even if you look at cereals in stores, which are run on commercials all the time, eat this and that, and I'm not going to get into the different types of cereals, but mostly everything has sugar in it, and the effects of sugar seem to be bad. Are bad, not seem to be bad. What say you about us not being nutritionally sound?
Just minimize the intake of sugar as best you can.
How?
There's a lot of obesity, and since that's with the information we've been given, that the sugar intake contributes to that, you just stay away from sugary foods as best you can.
Okay.
And just try to eat the foods that are, mostly just what they call pure fruit. And it may not be so pure because of the poison that's in the very dirt, the soil that it comes from, and all kind of chemicals and etc. That is supposed to be designed to kill insects, but it's also killing people. So you just eat those fruit and vegetables for the most part as best you can, right? Go to that counter and see what you can get. Tomatoes, avocados, spinach, broccoli, whatnot. But I hesitate, and I have done this down through the years, nearly full. When you start talking about nutrition, I hesitate to name the foods that I just named. Tomatoes, avocados, broccoli, cucumbers, spinach, kale. I could name those, but then I hesitate to even name those, even though I just did it. I hesitate to do so. Why? Because people have called me sometimes and said, can you say on the air what foods we should eat? You're supposed to be talking about how to solve problems, and if food is a problem, Fuller, can you find out the foods that we should be eating and specify what they are? But I've always hesitated to do that for the simple reason that the white supremacists will listen to me say that, and if I have any credibility, and if other people have credibility, if every black people who are in the nutrition business start saying, oh yes, eat broccoli, eat avocados, eat cucumbers, the white supremacists are listening to what you're saying, and they will just push a few buttons and start poisoning all of that and make sure that it's available to black people. So like I said, starting off with this program, in the last few minutes that I've been on, talking about the nutrition, I've just said you just have to do the best you can with the prison food, because there's no way to control the poison that's in it. It's all a guessing game. So if you happen to come across some food that you think may not be as poisonous as the rest of the food over from the other farm, whatnot, then you go with that. But always expect to be poison in whatever food that you're eating, because the white supremacists have complete control over all of the nutrition, quote unquote, that non-white people have access to, including the fish in the sea. They have control of that. They know just where to go to dump off all the waste and whatnot, all of the excess chemicals that come from factories and whatnot.
Yes.
And they'll dump it right off the coast of where black people are, where they consider themselves kind of away from the maldoers. They'll say that, well, call themselves trying to kill insects and all like that, and whatever they dump over the trees where the people they take their food from the trees, they'll just poison that because they'll poison the trees. So it just goes back to this one simple thing. We're prisoners of war. We have to eat the prison food. There isn't any other food available. We're prisoners.
Okay.
So we have to, but you do the best you can. Just pick through the food. When they put the plate before you in the prison, to say, well, all of it is a mess, but I'll just try to pick out the most nutritious part and just hope for the best.
Okay.
That's really all you can do.
Yeah, worms and all, which I guess is
worms and all.
Yeah, substitute for protein is what I was told.
Yes, right.
Okay. TalkTameRadio.com is a 24/7, no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news and lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, politics. And here's one that I'm going to share with you. If you've never heard this show, trust me on this one, you need to hear this show. It's the Quay Morgan Hill Show. And that young lady and her guests are completely, if you will, off the chain. It is very, very good. And you should at least give a listen to it and see what you think of it. That show, as well as others, are exclusive to TalkTameRadio.com. And all you have to do is go to the TalkTameRadio.com homepage, click on programs, and just look up the Quay Morgan Hill Show. And man, I'm telling you, it's in podcast form, but you can also listen live when she's on. Man, check it out. You'll be glad you did. All that from Talktainment Radio, that is radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am blessed to be the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr., and he's here to answer or give suggestions to your questions. And our topic today is nutrition as a well, I can't even read my writing, but nutrition as a weapon in this system of white supremacy racism. That's the base topic, but as you know, Mr. Fuller will also address any other your concerns. Let's go to the phone lines. Okay, caller, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question? Caller, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question? Okay, I'm going to go ahead then. Okay, go ahead on. Okay, caller, last call. You're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead. Okay, caller's not there. Okay, Mr. Fuller, you addressed this question, and we don't have, well, at least I don't remember it, and there might be some now, in the area of education, and in education in particular concerning nutrition. We seem to not really have that or address that. Maybe there are some forums that are out there that actually do, have that so we can learn about this stuff. But in my research and the data that I have come across, I've discovered there are several companies, and I'm not going to name the countries, but one company in particular has been a part of the food supply for a long time, and they also are a part of chemical warfare going even back to the 1800s. Some people already know about this. I was made aware at least 3 years ago in the different patents they've bought concerning seeds. My question for you, what about the compensatory response to the educational aspect of nutrition?
Well, just what I said before, there's no way to find out except to find out. You just find out, is anybody eating food that should be eaten? The correct food, the best food? Is anybody on the planet anywhere eating that? And just try to find out whatever they're eating and where they're getting it from, and each individual has to find that out. I don't know of any groups and whatnot who are dedicated to doing that, and I tend to believe that if there are such groups, the white supremacists would be aware of those groups and they would just monitor them and say, oh, they're saying they're leading people to go here and go there to this particular place. Someplace maybe in Peru or Ecuador or someplace, I mean, you know, in the Central African Republic. I mean, and they have some special farm set up there where they guarantee that the food is just the food that everybody should eat, and that food is distributed from these points all over the world to people who are looking for the supreme nutrition. Well, the white supremacists would be aware of that. In fact, they would be the ones who most likely who would be doing it. So if black people can find that out and get some of it by some way or another, and they couldn't get it without the white supremacists knowing that they're getting it, just do the best you can. That's all you can really actually do. See, a lot of people have talked about this nutrition and all like that for a long time, but they're not stopping to think. For the most part, in my opinion, who controls everything on this planet? Is anybody? I mean, is there anything that's outside of the white supremacist control? That's the question, including nutrition. Is there anything outside of the control of those white people who believe in the system of white supremacy? Is there anything that's not under their control anywhere, including the food supply? And the answer, according to everything I've seen and heard and studied, is no. Everything is under their control. They have made the whole world a prison for all of the people that they classify as non-white, and so that includes the food supply, and so you're eating prison food because they provide all of the food. There's no food that's not under their jurisdiction.
Okay.
Unless I have been misinformed.
Okay.
And somebody points out, oh, we know some places where they definitely don't have anything to do with the food. They can't touch it. I mean, you know, they can fly planes over there. We got shields for that. They can't drop any chemicals. They can't do this. They can't do that. I don't know of anything that the white supremacists can't do or not doing that's detrimental to the non-white people of this planet. I don't know of it.
So therefore, as you stated earlier in this conversation, do the best that you can.
Do the best that you can. If you hear some rumors that, well, I know someplace, I know a farm somewhere, you know, in Nevada, or Maryland, or I'm talking about the Northwestern Hemisphere.
Yes, sir.
Or something like that, where, hey, they got excellent food there, and the white people themselves, the white supremacists, make sure that that type of food is on their table. Well, if you can find that out, directly, indirectly, then you try to get some of it. That's all I can say about that.
Okay.
But there are some things that are obviously detrimental.
Yes, sir.
One, sodas, what you call drinking sodas.
Yes, sir.
In my opinion, this is just my opinion. There are other people who would say, oh, no, that's not true. I say this is detrimental. All of it. All of what you call those colas and whatnot. Every last one of them. They don't do anything for your body that's helpful. If you can just stop that and drink pure fruit juice. Or better still, you just eat the fruit, from what I've heard.
Yes, sir.
You'll be a whole lot better off.
Okay.
But, you know, I mean, the pretty cans that they have on the shelf and all like that saying, you know, it's energy and whatnot. No. None of that.
Okay.
None of that. It's all poison.
All poison. Okay, let's take a phone call. Okay, caller, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Hello.
Yes.
This is Hugh calling in. Hi.
Yeah, can you speak up a little bit? Go ahead, sir.
Okay, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
Okay. Okay, great. So my question for Mr. Fuller is, are the white supremacists eating the same food that we're eating, or is there any evidence that they're, because supposedly if they're contaminating the food, they wouldn't eat the contaminated food themselves?
Sure, but the system of white supremacy itself is a world business, the most successful business ever. Now, in that business, the only thing they measure, like any business, They just want to know, are they the most powerful people? All business people want to know, in what you call competitive business, they just want to know, do I have the most competitive business? And they'll say, now, my business is not all that it should be, but is it the most competitive? In other words, do I run the biggest business in town? That's all the white supremacists want to know, because people have said down through the years, they say, well, white people get drunk, they drink whiskey and whatnot, and, and they've used drugs, and, so it's not racism, because there's just as many white people that use drugs as black people. I mean, sometimes more. But see, it has to do with what? Comparison in power. That's all the white supremacists think about. The white supremacists will sit there and eat poisonous food. They will drink poisonous drinks right alongside of a non-white person. But they, at the end of the day, are thinking about what? Who is it going to affect adversely the most? See, it's just like the individual person, and many people are familiar with this technique. The fellow who is courting a lady, you might say, sitting right there alongside of her in the nightclub, you might say, as an example, and he's getting her to drink. Now, she doesn't know anything about alcohol, but he's pouring her a little bit of vodka there, and he pours himself some vodka. And so she drinks some vodka, and he drinks some vodka. Now, vodka, anybody who knows anything about it, I mean, from the record, it is a drink that's very strong, very powerful when it comes to deteriorating your body. It's not very nutritious. It doesn't build up the body. It breaks down the body. But the white supremacists will sit right there alongside a non-white person, just like the fellow who's courting the lady and trying to seduce her with drugs, in this case, a strong drink, as they call it. And so he'll pour her some and pour himself some. Now, he's breaking himself down, too, but not as much. See, that's the technique. Mm-hmm. And people who are called Indians have talked about that trick down through the ages. They say the racists, these strange people, the white supremacists, come into their villages, and they brought fire water, all right?
Yeah.
And they would sit right there and drink that fire water alongside you. You would take a drink, they would take a drink. Then you would take a drink, they would take a drink. But the trick is, they wouldn't drink as much. Now, they're poisoning themselves, but not as much. Mm-hmm. Now, what is the illustration that I'm making? Whatever the white supremacists do that's harmful, and they do all kinds of harmful things to themselves, but they don't do as much to themselves that they lose their power over what? Over the non-white people of this planet.
Okay, Mr. Fuller, I need you to hold it right there, and we're going to come back to that point. Just hold it right there. Talk to him at radio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on 94.1 WGRN. Podcasts are available. Download the Talk to Him at radio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. We're going to let Mr. Fuller finish his point about that fire water, and more of your Gmails coming up next on Talk to Him at radio.com.
TalkTainmentRadio.com is proud to present the compensatory concept. It is an effective system for countering the effects of white supremacy. TalkTainmentRadio.com is able to carry the first hour. However, the cost for the second hour is exceeding our limited budget. That is why we ask for your kind assistance in keeping the second hour on the air. If you believe like we do, help us in this struggle for justice. Go to the gold donate button on the TalkTainmentRadio.com web page and hit the gold donate button. That's the gold donate button. And please donate. Help us to keep the second hour of the compensatory concept on the air. Thank you.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Kickin online.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Kickin products are better than those other guys. Ash Kickin candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK17. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling all right.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Shop Ash Kickin online at www.ashkickin.com.
If you or someone you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and Medicaid is always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
Are you ready for a high school that allows you to work at a place that is right for you? Are you ready to earn a certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving your high school diploma? Then you are ready for Life Skills High School, a free public school option for high school students 16 to 21 years old. Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 1-800-888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
Sex Code War by Kahari Inaharo, the author of the Essence magazine bestseller Race Code War, is releasing his second book, Sex Code War. Be on the lookout for Sex Code War.
This is Al Edmondson, owner of a Cutter Brother Rest Barbershop. I'm calling on all barbers and beauticians. It's time for us to unite as one. We can serve our communities better together. Join the Ohio Black Barber Beauty Network. For more information, visit www.obbn.org or call 614-427-3226 to get more information. Be the change that you want to see in your community. Join our network.
Here's an idea. You've heard of the notion of pay it forward? It comes from the 2000 movie Pay It Forward. Basically, the premise is helping someone with no expectations of payback, providing assistance to someone, passing information on, simply doing a good deed for a total stranger, and instead of allowing them to pay it back, ask them to pay it forward. Doing favors for other people and asking them to do the same. The principle is the same as multi-level marketing, except that instead of soap or vitamins, it's generosity between strangers that is being passed on. Pay It Forward is mentoring, it's volunteering in your community, it's shoveling a neighbor's snow, or cutting an elderly person's grass for them, or taking a senior to the store. Don't wait for someone else to do something good. Do it yourself. It starts with you. Talktainment Radio strongly embraces the notion of pay it forward. In fact, we just did.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You got the power.
TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby, and I am blessed to be the co-host on the Compensatory concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. And our topic today, January the 9th, 2019, is nutrition as a weapon in the system of white supremacy, racism. And if you've heard the first 35 minutes, you've heard Mr. Fuller give the counter-racist compensatory response to that. And you can call in if you'd like, and certainly we'd like you to, 1-877-932-9766 for your question. And it does not necessarily have to be on topic. Okay, Mr. Fuller, you wanted to continue with your response to that vodka, the effects of that, quote, firewater on the body, as you were saying, sir?
Well, I'll just sum up the entire discussion simply by saying, what can you do? Because it always comes down to the bottom line. What can you do? Counter-racist codification in 2019 is supposed to be about what can you do about whatever a problem is, and whatever that is, do it. Well, when it comes to the problem of nutrition in the system of white supremacy, the answer is, no matter how long you talk about it, do the best you can with the poison food that they are putting before the non-white people of the planet, because that's what they are doing. And you just do the best you can to reduce the poison, to take in less of the poison as much as you possibly can, and be as, try to get your hands on something nutritious, something that will build the body up rather than tear it down. And certainly don't take the obvious things, like the drinks that are served, everything from the colas and whatnot to the whiskeys, even on so-called holidays and all like that.
Yes.
Don't drink any of that.
Okay. All right.
Drink water. All right.
Okay.
And, well, if it's nutritious, they say that it is. I don't know whether it is or not. Soy milk, etc., rather than cow's milk. Plant milk is best for you. I would that's just my own guess. It may not be true, but I think that history has kind of shown that something that's grown out of the ground that you take directly rather than something that comes indirectly through an animal is probably best for a person. That's just my guess.
Yes. Okay.
Animals eat food that comes from the ground, and then we eat the animals who have, after they have already eaten the food that comes from the ground. But if you can shortcut it and go straight to the ground yourself, you get the same nutrition that the animal gets when the animal eats the food that comes from the ground. Corn, a lot of animals eat corn. They like it, I mean, anytime they see or hear a corn, they go right to it. Well, now, if I sit over there in the bushes and wait for the animal to eat the corn, and then in order for me to get the corn, I have to kill the animal and eat the animal, that seems like a long way around to me. Now, that might be a simplistic way of putting it, but that's how it seems.
Yes, sir.
All right.
Would that be subject, two questions, would that be subject to the feed that the animals are getting? Because from my analysis of the information that I got, I have seen where certain companies manufacture the feed with certain kind of supplements that will make the animal fat, but will also help contaminate us. And this particular company that I am not going to name is very good at adding that, and then we consume it, as you just said, and then we have all these problems in our body.
Oh yes, I'm saying the white supremacists are poisoning all the food.
Okay.
And then they eat the food themselves. I mean, that they're poisoning. But here again, they look up from the table and they say, well, I'm eating poison food, and I got the black people eating poison food too.
Okay.
But do I still have the power over them? See, that's the only thing they're concerned about. They're not concerned about anything else. That's their value system.
Okay.
I'm not talking about all white people, but I'm talking about those who are the smartest and most powerful on this planet. Their value system is what is their status as compared to the non-white people of this planet. You just got two categories, white, non-white. So when a white supremacist wakes up in the morning, they'll say, you know, I feel awful, I eat poison food, I drink poison water that I make. You know, I just take the natural water and put all kind of poison in it and dump sugar in it, you know, and drink it, and I feel good and all like that.
Yes, sir.
And I shoot poison in my arm. I go in and make all kinds of chemicals. I get it out of the ground or wherever I get it from, off the trees, and I put it in a liquid form, and I stick it in my arm, and I have something called heroin, and I snort stuff called cocaine and opium. The white supremacists do all that, but after they do it, they'll look around and say, well, what are the black people doing? They say, well, they're doing it too. Say, well, are they still worse off than me? Are they worse off than me? We're both doing the same thing, but are those black people worse off than me?
Mm-hmm.
And if the answer is yes, they'll keep right on doing what they're doing.
Yes.
They don't care.
Yes.
Their value system is their entire way of living. Their entire culture is about, is that black person worse off than me? Is he in worse shape than I'm in? And if the answer is yes, they are satisfied with everything.
Okay.
They don't care how worse, how so-called good everything is, or how bad. They just make that comparison.
Yes, sir.
Everything with them is about comparison.
Comparison, yes, sir. That speaking about comparison, that is one of the things that when I read the report that came out of Seattle, Washington, and the Pacific Northwest, is that they found traces of heroin and cocaine in the fish, which, you know, well, anyway, you shouldn't eat that. Before we get off before we move on, since we're talking about nutrition, is the use of vitamins and vitamin supplements helpful, to take, that the body can have or should take?
I don't know.
Okay.
Because here again, when you talk about vitamins, who has control of the vitamins? Who manufactures the vitamins?
Yes, sir.
Who puts them in the bottles? I mean, you know, by the millions and whatnot, and put them on the shelf and say, come and get them. The directly, indirectly, the white supremacists control all of that. If it's going to wind up in the hands and in the stomachs and in the body systems of non-white people, they control that. So they know what's in there. I mean, they say this is vitamin B such and such and vitamin C such and such, and it might be this pure poison. It could be, and it might not be. It's a guessing game, because the non-white people have no control over none of that. See what I mean? So
yes,
there's no point in lamenting it. We're prisoners of war. See, we have to understand racism. If we don't understand racism, we're not going to understand anything anyway. I mean, that's a given. Okay. And if you're a person of color, you are born in a prison, and the name of that prison is called the system of white supremacy. And everything that you get comes through the white supremacists. There's no mysterious source of anything. And some black people say, well, we have a God. I mean, and that God will see to it that I'm protected. Well, all right, you can say that, but then it's a question raised, is there such a thing as white supremacy that God allows, or our God, you know, we all have one, we all have a source from which we came, allows the white supremacists who say that they believe in God too, and they say that they get their instructions from God, and their instructions are to do what they do with the black people of this planet. That's where they say they get their instructions. They say, sure, we believe in God. We're not godless people. We definitely believe in God, but God told us to take charge of you all because you're nothing but animals anyway, and we put you in the category of animals and treat you like animals. And if you just accept that you're supposed to be treated like a horse or like a hog or like a dog, all right, that's our instructions from our God. I don't know what gods you got, you black people, but our God tells us to dominate you and to steer you in the way that we want you to go. And we will be rewarded by our God for doing so. Now, when we look around at this planet, it seems like they could be telling the truth. I don't know, but I don't believe that that's true. And the logical, I always say, according to the code, you use logic. If that's true, if the white supremacists are assigned to tell the black people of this planet what to do, and the black people always have to do it because they are white, and they are given the instructions, and God told them that they are white, and that they have these instructions to take charge of these black people with their ignorant, stupid selves and treat them like the animals of the planet. If that's the instruction, I say I don't believe it, and I don't believe it simply because from an emotional standpoint, because I'm not emotional about it. I shouldn't be. I should look at it and find out whether or not there's reason to believe that's true. I believe it's not true based on logic. Why? Because the white supremacists tell lies, all right, in order to maintain that supremacy. They don't tell the truth about a lot of things. See, when you get instructions from what I would say is a just God, and that's an assumption that God would believe in justice, that He wouldn't create a person and give that person power, or it wouldn't. You know, some people say God is an it or she. That power that we call God wouldn't give a intermediary the power to do things to other creatures and the environment, and that creature had to tell things called lies in order to maintain that power, because the white supremacists lie all the time. They say things that are not true, and so that makes you suspicious, since they do say things that are not true. They believe in fooling people. That is where their power comes from. Otherwise, people, wouldn't submit to their power. They have to submit people to what? Confusion. Confusion comes from a lie. All right? That's their instrument. This is how you control people. If you can confuse people, you have to say things to those people that are not true. That's that's the only way you can do it over a long period of time.
Yes, sir.
So that's what they do.
Okay.
So that's the giveaway. So I don't think that they have these instructions.
All righty.
Bottom line, that's what I'm saying.
All right.
I don't think they got those instructions from any God anywhere, all right, to do what they are doing to the non-white people of this planet.
Oh.
I don't think those are God-like instructions based on logic. Not on emotion. Based on logic.
Based on logic. Okay, TalkTameRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTameRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio, the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bob, and I'm the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller. Mr. Fuller, this is the time of the program where we have you speak about the book, your book. So take it away.
Right. The name of the book is A Compensatory Counter-Racist Code. There is a word, set of words that precede that called the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, and that is, you might say, a trademark concept. But generally speaking, it's just a textbook, workbook for thought, speech, and/or action for victims of white supremacy. And all those other titles that I just named, the United Independent Compensatory Code System Concept, those words don't mean anything except when you read the book. I describe what those words mean, because they do have the R in the book that is on the main title of the book for a reason, because which is explained in the textbook. But generally speaking, it's a textbook workbook for thought, for speech, tells you, gives you some ideas about what to think about, and how to say the things that you think, because you have to say things in a certain way in order to get the best results. That's what communications, we call communications, getting the best results from what you say. That's what communications, when you're communicating with somebody, that's what that is. So it gives some suggestions about what to say and what not to say. Thought, speech, and then after you speak, you act on what you're thinking and speaking about. So a textbook workbook for thought, speech, and or action for victims of racism. And racism, of course, is white supremacy. So this applies to the people of color of the entire planet. You can get the book by going to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. And there's other information there, too.
Okay.
For picking up a word guide that's a follow-up to the basic book.
Okay. In fact, I'm glad you said that, because on the Gmail, it says this. Let's see. This is from, this gentleman. He says this, Mr. Fuller, Mr. Bobby, can you ask Mr. Fuller why he does not like the word accountability? I hear him say that from time to time, but the word is not in the word guide.
Yes, well, because I had already, that was just, there are hundreds of words that I don't prefer to use, but they're not in the word guide. I mean, maybe thousands, because in order to do that, and I've said this on the air too, the word guide that I have is a very limited. It's just a synopsis, you might say, of some of the words that I think are very, very key. But there are thousands of words, including all of the words that are in the biggest dictionary that you can find. Now, I've seen some pretty big dictionaries. I've seen dictionaries that were so heavy, so large, that you had to wheel them around on a cart. I guess somebody in the audience has seen those dictionaries. Those dictionaries are supposed to include all of the words in the English language, because most dictionaries, not all dictionaries, have the same number of pages in them, and they don't have all of the words in the English language in them. But I understand there are some dictionaries that do have all of the words in the English language. However, I don't think so, even the largest ones, including the ones that you roll around on a heavy cart. I mean, that you have to have an actual cart. There's no way for the average person to even lift that dictionary. It will have so many words in it. So getting back to that particular word, accountability, I just say that the word is abstract the way that it's used. Because when people say, hold our elected officials accountable, well, what I'm looking for are some words, not for them to necessarily just define the word, but I'm looking for the action. Hold them accountable by doing what? And when most people use that, well, we're going to hold these people accountable now. Well, we're going to hold them accountable. I mean, we mean business. We don't believe in this nonsense, and you better believe that when we give them those positions that we voted them in office for, or that teacher over there that's teaching in that school, I'm going over there, and I'm going to sit there and listen to what's going on and look at what's going on, and I am going to hold them accountable. Now, I've heard people say this over and over again, but I don't hear them follow it up by saying, by doing this, 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 and this. A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, 4. That's how I'm going to hold them accountable. They just say, we got to hold them accountable and walk away from the mic. Well, that leaves me cold. Counter-racist codification or compensatory science or the science of action, you might say, just the science of the universe, is explain what you mean in detail. Just don't say, hold them accountable. Hold them by the toe? What are you talking about? You know, hold them by the sleeve? What do you mean, hold them accountable? By doing what? It always comes down to the doing, D-O. I say this about codification all the time. There's too many abstract words that are just thrown around. Oh, we're going to, you know, we're going to take care of business. That's another slogan. We're not playing. We're going to take care of business. Take care of business by doing what? By doing what? By doing what? Be specific and be able to outline what you're going to do or what a person should do. 1, 2, 3, 4. That's what should follow. But very seldom does it ever. And this is why nothing gets what? Nothing gets done.
Nothing gets done. Okay. All right. This one here says, good morning, gentlemen. The government shutdown has affected thousands of federal employees. Many are out of work, but many are forced to report to work without pay. The TSA workers were threatened yesterday by management. They were told that if they don't report to work and work for free, they will be disciplined. I just found out that 42% of the TSA workforce is non-white. Should we expect this type of treatment in 2019? Mr. Fuller?
No, I don't. I'm not sure that I understand the question.
Well, he was speaking about that the TSA workers were told that they better report to work without pay or they will be disciplined. And he was just saying, should we expect this type of treatment in 2019?
Oh, sure. You always say, we're getting back to the fundamental. Recently, I've been doing this. I haven't been doing this all along. But I've been trying to say whatever I have to say in a way that most people can readily understand it. We're prisoners of war. All of us, if you are a person of color, in my opinion. These are just strictly my opinions. And if you picture in your mind a prison camp, meaning the entire planet, and you're in that prison camp because you're a person who has color in your skin, black, brown, red, yellow, tan, you're classified as non-white by the white supremacists, and you're in a prison camp called the entire planet, and the name of that prison is the system of white supremacy. You do what prisoners do. So if the white supremacists say, I'm not going to give you any food today, it means what? You are not going to get any food today.
Okay, pardon me, Mr. Fuller, but they're giving me that sign that I have to close it out for this hour, so we can come back to that. TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio the way it should be heard. Thanks for listening, and we will be on the other side for the second hour.
Thanks for listening to the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why. One should always ask it.
Radio, the way it should be heard.
You've got the power, the world's greatest radio. TalkTainmentRadio.com. Talktainment Radio, worldwide sound. Talktainmentradio.com. We give you a reason to come. The world's greatest radio. We give you a reason to stay. Radio, the way it should be heard. You got the power.
The views and opinions expressed are those of the host and guest and not necessarily those of TalkTainmentRadio.com, the management, the staff, or K&E World Network, LLC.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
This is the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio. Radio the way it should be heard. And now, Mr. Neely Fuller.
If you do not understand white supremacy, which is racism, what it is and how it works, everything else that you understand will only confuse you. Only confuse you. Only confuse you.
All righty. Good day to you. This is TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go on the world's greatest radio. You are now in touch with the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. I am your co-host, Mr. Bobby, and this is radio the way it should be heard. If you would like to get in contact with the show, you can do so by calling 1-877-932-9766. If you'd like to see us, also hear us, you can go to the YouTube channel, type in the word Talktainment, scroll down to the place where you can type in the word radio, and then after you hit the radio, just scroll down a little more and type in Talktainment number 2, and you're right there. While you're there, hit the subscribe and like button. Now, we would prefer you go to the TalkTainmentRadio.com homepage and just click on Listen Live. Bam, you're right there. Hit the subscribe and like button there. Now, if you would like to Gmail the program, you can Gmail me at the numero 7, Mr. Bobby, B-O-B-B-Y, at gmail.com. And then hopefully I'll get the opportunity to read your Gmail. But if not, it will be read at some point, maybe not on this show, but another show. And after all that, you can also, if you're on Facebook, go to facebook.com/Talktainment, and the show will be there. Our on-screen or on topic today is nutrition as a weapon in the system of white supremacy racism. And Mr. Fuller has given his compensatory counter-racist response to that question. But as you know, we do a variety of questions that you have, that you submit, and then we will read them, and Mr. Fuller will answer them. Okay, and speaking about answering them, let's go to this question here. It says, Mr. Fuller, I have a question for you, hoping... okay, Mr. Fuller defines 3 groups of people: non-white, white non-racist, and white racist. However, it is quite evident that African people are hated and mistreated by whites as well as other non-whites. Francis Welsing offers the theory that the black man, due to much higher levels of melanin, possesses the greatest threat to white genetic survival, and that is the reason why the African is mistreated more than the other non-white people. Mr. Fuller, do you agree with this reason, or do you have another reason why African people seem to be despised by white people as well as other non-white people? Thank you, Brother Yu.
Well, I don't know anything about melanin, so I don't get in that type of exchange. I just listen to people who do know, and people who say that they know a lot about melanin. Some of them agree with each other, and some of them don't. I just simply say I don't know anything about melanin at all, other than it's supposed to have something to do with the degree of color, the different varieties of color, and that the more you have of it, the darker you are. That's my understanding. Now, the white supremacists, the way I've seen them function, they treat their prisoners, and I get back to the prison analogy. I can't get away from that because basically that's all the system of white supremacy is. It's a prison system. So they have people of all different shades of color, whether call the shade black or brown. Some people even use the term black people and brown people. Well, a lot of people who are classified as black are brown. I mean, dark brown, light brown, but they're classified as black. There are even a lot of people who are classified as black who look like they're white. I give some, I don't like to make personal references, but I will, for the sake of clarity in this program. There's a congressperson that is outstanding in history, in the history books in the Northwestern Hemisphere, and that was Adam Clayton Powell. A lot of people mistook him for being a white man. But Adam Clayton Powell himself said, and this is what his words, according to what I heard or read, if I got it correctly, he said, black is not a color. It's a way of thinking. Because when you looked at Adam Clayton Powell, a lot of people said, he looks exactly like a white man. All right? He looks like one of the white men, you might say, from so-called Latin America, maybe. I mean, and then you look at a lot of people like very prominent and who are considered to be really black. I mean, no-nonsense black. And it's a person like Malcolm X, who does not look like Marcus Garvey. So what are we talking about here? Because you have confusion, okay? The white supremacists themselves put out that kind of confusion, I guess, for the purpose of why do you cause confusion? For people to argue about. So I just say non-white. I use the term. That's just my term that I use. And then I don't have to be bothered with it. White people, non-white people, and white supremacists. And you have to be a white person classified as white. See, it's the classification. It's not the actual visual color. Because even in the same so-called families of black people, I've seen black people in what they call a family, numerous, including my own, where people of different shades of color. Some of them very dark, very, very dark, and darker than darker than darker and darker, and blacker than blacker and blacker, or whatever that means. And then some of them dark brown, some of them what they call yalla, or yellow, or even that slang term, red bone. And, and they're all sitting around the same dinner table, and they say, well, we're all black. But when you look at them visually, they're not that way. I mean, if you're talking about actual color, if you compare talking about shoes or clothes, and you say, well, we're all black people. And there's 18 of them sitting around a dinner table. And all of them look different shades. But they all say that they're black. All right? And some of them look like they're white. Okay? But they say we all kinfolks. Okay, and black people are looking at that all day long, every day, in a classroom, anywhere, around the dinner table, whatnot. So, what is that, when we start trying to fine-tune it, what are we fine-tuning it for? See, that's the question.
Yes, sir.
Because all I'm saying is replace white supremacy with justice. And there are three categories of people: white people, non-white people, and white supremacists. And the white supremacists are dictating to all of the non-white people on this planet, all of the people that they say are non-white. Because the white supremacists are so tricky, sometimes they will classify people who are non-white as white, if it's for their convenience.
Yes, sir.
And then the very next day, switch it around. Now, they have actually done that all over the planet.
Okay.
So you have what from that? Confusion.
Confusion.
But the confusion is always among whom? The non-white people.
Okay.
The confusion is never among the white people. They ain't confused.
They ain't confused. Let's go to the phone lines here. Okay, caller, you are on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Oh, good morning, Neely Fuller. I'm calling to ask the follow-up on the question the previous person asked about, it appears that he used the term African. I'll just say people who are dark or black or classified as black, colored, Negro, whichever is the name of the day. There appears to be a treatment, a hierarchy within the non-white category, and I'm not sure if that's what the previous person was asking. For example, my son and I were looking here in California. There's whole communities where they have permitted Korean people to have businesses, neighborhoods, banking systems. There's neighborhoods here where the Vietnamese have their own communities, neighborhoods, streets. They are not being disturbed or bothered as the black people who pretty much have devastated. No banking system, no businesses. So it appears within the non-white category, the white people are classifying these get treated worse, these get treated a little better. Why would they single out, perhaps the question was, why are they singling out black people as the ones that are at the bottom of the foot of everybody?
Okay, thank you for your call.
Well, here again, confusion, spreading confusion, confusion among everybody who is in the non-white category. There are some black people who have lighter skins than people who are called Koreans. See, there's no such thing as a Korean color. There's no such thing as a Japanese color. There's no such thing as a Pacific Islander color. These are not colors. When you put a color chart on the wall, you don't say, now this is a Pacific Island color. See, the white supremacists, they are language experts, and they have all kinds of words floating around in black people's heads that black people don't even know one color from another. I mean, we're talking about color here. We're not talking about, and I've heard a fellow who classified himself as Puerto Rican. He says people often get color mixed up with a national term. They'll say a Puerto Rican color. He says no such thing as a Puerto Rican color. You can't point to a person and say that is a Puerto Rican color. And when he said that, I'm saying, well, if I was looking for a Puerto Rican color, what color would I be looking for? What color would I be looking for if it was a Puerto Rican color? All right? See, so the white supremacists, they pick and choose in their prison system just who they're going to favor and who they're not. That's all that is.
Mm-hmm.
They'll even do that among people who are what you might call black, super black. And they will pick out one or two of them out of all black people. Everybody in that tribe is what you might call super black. I mean, it's not a brown person anywhere, not a yellow person, not a light-skinned person, or not any person that you call half white, which it ain't no such thing as that either. All right, you're either white or you're not in the system of white supremacy. But the white supremacists will go among any people and say, oh, okay, you, and you, just like in any prison system. I'm going to have you working up here in my office, and you're going to wear a suit and tie. All right? And that's what you'll be doing. And you're just as black as you can be. You're just as black as all the rest of the prisoners. But you've been picked. That's all they do. It's not rocket science.
Yes.
They just, when you're in charge, you do what you want to do. You just go around and pick people like you want to pick them. You. Just go down the line and just pick them. If you've ever been in any type of greatly structured system, an army or anything like that, the people who are in charge, they just come and pick people. Short ones, tall ones, and say, you're going to be doing this. You're going to be my favorite person for today. And then you're going to be my disfavored person tomorrow, depending on how I feel. That's what you can do when you're a master. And there's no point in the prisoners squabbling among themselves about these technicalities, because they're all prisoners.
TalkTameRadio.com is a 24/7 no-charge worldwide broadcasting facility with hosts delivering on various topics such as news and lifestyle, sports, law, health, wellness, religion, and politics. Now, here's one that I'm going to share with you, and it's called All in the Family by S. Yolanda Robinson. By the way, you can ask her what that S stands for. But this show is a very, very, very good show. And guess what? It is exclusive to Talktainment Radio. Now, what is the show about? Why don't you go to the TalktainmentRadio.com homepage, click on programs, find the All in the Family with your host, S. Yolanda Robinson. Find out what that S means and the content of the show. Very, very good. That and other shows that we have here on the network are exclusive to TalktainmentRadio.com. And all you have to do is go to the homepage, click it on, and find the program you want. And, man, you're in the house. So that's radio the way it should be heard. Talktainment Radio, radio the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. Our topic today for January the 9th, 2019 is nutrition as a weapon in the system of racism, white supremacy. First hour, Mr. Fuller really broke that down. But as you know, we ask, or a lot of different questions are asked on different subjects, so you can call in and Mr. Fuller will address that at 1-877-932-9766. Mr. Fuller, Robert De Niro, the actor Robert De Niro, called, a white man by the way, called the president a racist. Robert De Niro did, a white man. The representative from Michigan that got newly elected, Rashida Tlaib, called the president an MF. MF. And just yesterday, a senior official in Canada, called the president an MF. Except for the sister, Rashida, all these two, Robert De Niro and the official from Canada, were white. Is the president a racist, and is he an MF? A white person said it.
Oh, well, you can listen to that, but what I've written in the code book is that you only call people by the names and our titles that those people want to be called. That's all people. And, you know, what people choose to do, that's up to them. People call people names all the time. But the recommendation is, according to counter-racist compensatory logic, is that you call all people by the names and our titles that those people want to be called. Now, if President Trump wants to be called by those names, he can let people know. Call him MF if he wants them to do that, or call him a racist. Now, I think that I heard President Trump say that he's not a racist. So, if he says that, and I heard that he said that, whether he is or isn't. If he said that he's a racist now, I can call him that because that would be his choice. But if he says he's not a racist, I cannot call him a racist. I can say that I suspect that he is one. Now, that's what's in the code book. Of course, I suspect all, and I have a duty to suspect any person classified as white as automatically being a racist.
Okay.
If he or she is able to be one. That's the key term. Now, that's in the code book. But here's the term. Not call them a racist. Call them a racist suspect. A racist suspect. Suspected by whom? By me. Because that's my duty. Because somebody has to be a racist in the system of white supremacy. Somebody has to be. I don't have a list of who is a racist and who isn't. So therefore, I have to suspect anyone who is able to be a racist, and you first of all have to be white to be a white supremacist, because that's what racism is. You can't be a person of color and be a racist in a system of white supremacy. It doesn't compute. It's not logical. You can't have two supremes, okay? You're either supreme or it isn't. And when you say racist, you're talking about somebody in a supreme position, all right? No non-white person on this planet is in that supreme position when it comes to color. No one classified as non-white is supreme.
Okay.
You have to be white to be in the supreme position. That's a white supremacist. But I can't call any white person a white supremacist because I can't prove it. But I can say that he or she is suspected of being one. Suspected by whom? By me as a victim. Why? Because it's my duty to suspect that if you are white, you could be a racist.
All right.
I suspect that that's what you're a racist.
All right.
So I call you a racist suspect.
All right. Let's go to the phone line since they're jammed. What line am I on here? Line number one? Okay. Line number one, you are on with Mr. Neely Fuller in this 9-minute segment. Go ahead, please. Go ahead, caller.
Am I line number one?
Yes, you're line number one. Go ahead, please.
Great. Okay, Mr. Fuller, you said that the white man has outsmarted non-white and therefore are able to set up and enforce the system of white supremacy. And sometimes you give examples. Most of the time, it's of African black people being non-constructive or lazy to support this idea. However, since white supremacy is global, then it would follow that they would have had to have outsmarted the Asians, the East Indians, all of those other groups of people who have no reputation of being, or they might even have a reputation of being intelligent and hardworking. So personally, I tend to think that there's probably more to it than the idea of the white person being smarter. You know what I mean? What's your take on that?
Well, I say the white supremacists are the smartest people on the entire planet because anybody who is non-white comes under their power. Anytime I can tell people what to do and they better do it, that means I've outsmarted them. That's what that means. I might not feel great about that, but if anybody who tells me what to do and I better get hopping, but I can't tell them what to do and they don't hop. See, I can talk. The white supremacists can walk up to me and say, hey, I want you to do this, boy, and I want you to do it. And if you don't do it, I can hurt you. Now, I have a mouth, I have a tongue, I can speak, I can say, well, what you say doesn't matter to me, and what you tell me to do, I ain't going to do it. And not only that, I'm going to tell you what to do, and you better do it because I can back it up. Now, if I said that, I would not be telling the truth. And the record shows I would not be telling the truth. And I'm not going to say that because I know that I'm not telling the truth. And I have found that's true of all of the people who are classified as non-white on this planet. When they get in the white supremacist's face and the line is drawn and the white supremacist said, my word goes and your word means nothing, I've always seen the non-white people back down. Now, sometimes they'll put up a fight, but at some point, they stop fighting because they back down. They say, I capitulate. I quit. You're the best. You're the best. That's what they tell the white supremacists. They put up a long fight sometimes. I mean, they fight, but they wind up just being the prisoners of war. It's like, you have prison rebellions. The non-white people rise up, all over, up and down the cell block and whatnot. All right, they turn over the furniture and they burn stuff. They make a lot of noise. And the white supremacists say, okay, you through? You're still in my prison. And you will still do what I say do.
Okay.
Now get quiet and go back to your cells, and we'll get back to business as usual.
As usual. Okay.
I have never seen that happen any other way the whole time I've been on this planet.
All righty. Let's go to the phone lines again. Okay, caller, you're on with Mr. Fuller. Go ahead, please.
Good morning, Mr. Bobby, Mr. Fuller, and all the callers and listeners. I want to go back to the question that the lady who called in from California had about the racial hierarchy.
Yeah, go ahead. You got about 4 minutes. Go ahead.
Okay, yes, sir. Mr. Fuller once said that as long as non-white people are solving problems that's right in front of them, they will be solving the race problem. So does he think that the racial hierarchy in this particular area of the world and all over the world really is because of, well, Asian people, they have solved a number of problems, and brown people or so-called East Indian people, they solved the problems like and they solved a number of problems in medicine, and brown people or so-called Hispanic people have know how to solve problems in construction and building things, and black people collectively, and especially in this particular area of the world, that we haven't solved any problems that the world needs us to solve other than probably entertaining people.
Okay, Mr. Fuller, you got about 2 minutes to answer that. Go ahead, please.
Well, what was your question? I didn't hear a question there. I heard statement.
Yes, sir. Do you think that we're at the bottom of the so-called racial hierarchy because we have not solved any problems that people need us to solve?
Well, it depends on what problems you're talking about solving, because the last time I checked, the people who are called brown people in the northwestern hemisphere, I see them trying to get across borders and whatnot, trying to get wherever, which way did the white folks go? I mean, that seems to be the question, and I see them killing each other in the process. I mean, wholesale. That is not, hey, that's a serious problem. Chopping each other's heads off in the desert and all that type of stuff. Drugging each other. I mean, that problem solved? Gangs, graffiti, those are problems. I mean, unless I've been misinformed, that's what I'm looking at. That's what I'm hearing. I don't see any problems being solved among any of the non-white people of this planet. I hear about all these wonderful, everything is just rosy among non-white people except the very darkest. That's what I'm hearing, but that's not what I'm seeing. Now, I see some problems being solved, but some problems have been solved with black people, in Nigeria and whatnot. There are some black people who you look at them and they say that, hey, I don't have any problem with that. But if you just go around the individual people, even on your own block, you can say, well, I'm not doing too bad, considering, and all like that. But I'm talking about generally speaking. All of the non-white people classified as black, brown, red, yellow, tan, anybody with color, I see them with problems. And they will tell you, you think that I got it easy because I'm tan? That I don't have no problems with the white supremacists? Because I'm tan? Just because I'm tan? Some tan people, maybe. Some yellow people, maybe.
Hold on, Mr.
Brown people, maybe. Or some real, what you call sure enough black people.
Okay. Hold on, Mr. Fuller. Hold on, Mr. Fuller. Excuse me. They're telling me I have to take a break here. So hold on, and we'll come back to that point. So just remember that point. TalkTainmentradio.com. We go where you go. Check us out on 94.1 WGRN. Podcasts are available. Download the TalkTainmentradio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio the way it should be heard. Stay right there. We're going to have Mr. Fuller remember his explanation and more of your calls and Gmails coming up next.
TalkTainmentRadio.com is proud to present the compensatory concept. It is an effective system for countering the effects of white supremacy. TalkTainmentRadio.com is able to carry the first hour. However, the cost for the second hour is exceeding our limited budget. That is why we ask for your kind assistance in keeping the second hour on the air. If you believe like we do, help us in this struggle for justice. Go to the gold donate button on the talktainmentradio.com web page and hit the gold donate button. That's the gold donate button. And please donate. Help us to keep the second hour of the compensatory concept on the air. Thank you.
For the best home fragrance and beauty products, shop Ash Kickin online.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Made with 100% natural quality ingredients and handcrafted with your family in mind, Ash Kickin products are better than those other guys. Ash Kickin candles, incense, body butter, face moisturizer, and hair moisturizer are priced just right, and you can get yours at 10% off with coupon code TALK17. Support this 100% black-owned business and get your home and body smelling and feeling alright.
That's ASHKICKIN.
Shop Ash Kickin online at www.ashkickin.com.
If you or someone you know is abusing drugs and or alcohol and want to stop the abuse, contact APDS at 1409 East Livingston Avenue. Office hours are 9 a.m. to 8 p.m. daily and 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. on Saturday. APDS is certified by the Ohio Department of Mental Health and Addiction Services and primarily funded through the Adam H. Board. Fees are based on your income and Medicaid is always accepted. For more information, call 614-253-4448.
Are you ready for a high school that allows you to work at a place that is right for you? Are you ready to earn a certification in healthcare, business, or manufacturing while achieving your high school diploma? Then you are ready for Life Skills High School, a free public school option for high school students 16 to 21 years old. Learn more about your free high school educational options at lifeskillshs.org or call them at 1-800-888-7992. Life Skills High School, education that fits your life.
Sex Code War by Kahari Inaharo, the author of the Essence Magazine bestseller Race Code War, is releasing his second book, Sex Code War. Be on the lookout for Sex Code War.
This is Al Edmondson, owner of a Cutter Brother Rest Barbershop. I'm calling on all barbers and beauticians. It's time for us to unite as one. We can serve our communities better together. Join the Ohio Black Barber Beauty Network. For more information, visit www.obbn.org or call 614-427-3226 to get more information. Be the change that you want to see in your community. Join our network.
Here's an idea. You've heard of the notion of pay it forward? It comes from the 2000 movie Pay It Forward. Basically, the premise is helping someone with no expectations of payback, providing assistance to someone, passing information on, simply doing a good deed for a total stranger, and instead of allowing them to pay it back, ask them to pay it forward, doing favors for other people and asking them to do the same. The principle is the same as multi-level marketing, except that instead of soap or vitamins, it's generosity between strangers that is being passed on. Pay It Forward is mentoring, it's volunteering in your community, it's shoveling a neighbor's snow, or cutting an elderly person's grass for them, or taking a senior to the store. Don't wait for someone else to do something good. Do it yourself. It starts with you. Talktainment Radio strongly embraces the notion of pay it forward. In fact, we just did.
Live call-in talk show. Dial 1-877-932-9766 and join the conversation here on TalkTainmentRadio.com.
I think I'm entitled. You want answers. I want the truth. You can't handle the truth.
Go ahead. Make my day.
I'm as mad as hell, and I'm not going to take this anymore.
You got the power.
TalkTainmentRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTainmentRadio.com to Radio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio, the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby, and I am the co-host of the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. You'd like to get in contact with the show, 1-877-932-9766. is the number that you can call. Our topic today has started off, and is nutrition as a weapon in the system of white supremacy racism. But as you know, our usual custom is that you can ask any question. It doesn't have to be on the topic. And we've had good discussion on that for the January 9th edition of the show. Mr. Fuller, would you like to continue or move on, sir?
Well, we can move on.
Okay.
If someone has a follow-up question in attendance to that. But
okay.
I hope that didn't add to the confusion there, because that's an absolute no-no.
Okay.
But basically what I'm saying is, when you are supreme, you can do what you want to with the people that you're supreme over, including you can set up categories of people. But that's not the people's fault. That's the fault of, if you can call it a fault, and it is in the system of white supremacy. It's just like in any prison camp. You can walk through the prison camp and pick out people that you want to be better off than other prisoners. Anybody that runs anything can do that. When you're in complete control, you can pick people and make them the favorites, but then the other people who are not picked shouldn't get angry with the people who were picked. That's not going to solve anything. You still got to deal with the warden of the prison.
Okay.
The warden can pick out anybody and make that person a prima donna prisoner.
Okay.
Why? Because the warden can do that. So you don't get mad at the prisoner that's been picked to be the prima donna. I mean, strutting around, I mean, not doing any work. I mean, doesn't have to be on a work detail, gets all the goodies, sits at the warden's table and eats. No point in getting mad at that prisoner.
Alrighty.
I mean, you have to do something about the warden and the prison system itself.
Okay. Before I go to the Gmail, let me get this caller in. Caller, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question? Caller, you're on with Mr. Fuller. What is your question?
Hi, this is a follow-up question here. And I'm coming from the perspective that there is some kind of higher power and that this world of injustice will not continue like this indefinitely. So the follow-up question is about white persons being smarter and then able to dominate other peoples on the earth. So when you look at the Nazis and the Holocaust, the Nazis weren't necessarily smarter than the Jews. They were just more evil. So when I use that analogy, when I look at the system, this is my perspective on it, that the white people and the white supremacists are just way more evil. They're not necessarily smarter. I just want to know what Mr. Fuller thought about that perspective.
Okay, Mr. Fuller?
I have heard this perspective, and that comes under VGQ. If a victim wants to look at it, his or her victimization like that, you might say, a softer way of describing the same thing. A person can do that, and I say that that's what it is. It's just a tiptoe way of looking at the same thing. You say, well, I don't choose to look at myself as a victim. I just say that these are unfortunate circumstances. There are some people who say that. Well, as a victim of racism, you can look at your victimization in a way that you want to. But I choose to look at it just the way that it is. Anybody who can dominate me, and I don't know what to do about it, is smarter than me. Now, some people say, well, that person is more evil than me, or whatnot, and you can look at it that way. I mean, if you want to use those words, but the circumstances are still the same. I'm still being dominated. I'm still doing things that I don't want to do. I'm still being treated the way that I don't want to be treated. So different people can choose under the compensatory logic code whatever words you feel comfortable with. But I'm not trying to feel comfortable. I want to end the system of racism. That's what I set out to do. And I choose to use what you call hardcore language.
Okay.
And I don't think it's extreme. I just think it's just a better way of saying it, because I say that the way I'm saying it is true. Anybody who is smart enough to mistreat me, and I am not smart enough to stop the mistreatment, and I use the word smart, and I know that that hurts a lot of people's feelings, but codification is not about feelings. It's about getting the job done. I say that gets the job done. That really gives me incentive when I say I got to get smart. I got to get smart, because when you say evil, well, you know, I can say that I'm evil. You know, what's evil? You know, is the person more evil than I am? I'm evil and they're evil, but they are better at being evil than I am. I'm still at a disadvantage. That's all I'm looking at. Am I the person who is at a disadvantage? I don't care how you dress it up and what kind of, you know, coat of paint you put on it. Hey, I'm subordinate to somebody that I shouldn't be subordinate to, because I'm being what? Mistreated.
Mistreated. Okay.
Yeah, that's the key term. Am I being mistreated? And whatever words you use, I'm either being mistreated or I'm not.
Okay. From the Gmail, it says this: we're only 1 week into 2019, and already we've seen examples of black men being portrayed as predators or those who allow black women to be harmed. From the incident at the McDonald's where no black man came to the defense of a black female employee being attacked by a white man to the drive-thru by shooting death, and to the shooting death of a 7-year-old black girl, to the R. Kelly documentary on Lifetime, Negro feminists working on behalf of their white supremacist mommies are using incidents like these two to further demonize most black heterosexual men as toxic, to portray black men like R. Kelly in the, quote, surviving R. Kelly in the, quote, docu as some kind of Godzilla warlord capable of leading a worldwide cult of underage girls he's kidnapped. My question to you, Mr. Fuller, is what would you suggest as a way to respond to some black women who love pointing the finger of blame at black men for all that's wrong in our community? I know what I'd say in some of what you'd say in the book, but right now, here in 2019, how would you advise us to respond to this new attack, mostly led by black feminists working on behalf of white supremacy against black men?
Okay. That's why I wrote the code book. We need a code where we look at everything exactly the way that it is, not how we feel that it ought to be. We look at everything exactly the way that it is. And the way that it is that we have a system of white supremacy. That's my premise. Now, once we start inching away from that, then everything is lost, in my opinion, anyway. The whole conversation goes right down the tubes. You either have a system of white supremacy or you don't. Now, what does that mean? But the white supremacists determine what people are going to do, how people are going to act. They determine this. Nobody else determines this. They determine it. The prisoners of war do what the people who are running the prison tell them to do. That's been traditional in everything that I've ever heard. I've never been in what you call the greater confinement, but I say that I was born in a prison system called the system of white supremacy. So those words mean something. Supreme. They tell me what to do and I do it. And the person standing next to me, if that person is a person of color, that person does what he or she is told or is punished, not by me, but by the white supremacists. Why? Because the supremacist is in a position of supremacy. And if we don't understand white supremacy, what it is and how it works, everything else that we understand will confuse us. I say that repeatedly in the book. So I'm going to say something in the book about what is said just now. Many things are happening that should not happen. Now this is word for word, I think, in the book, if I recall correctly. Many people are to blame. The people who are most to blame are are hiding in plain sight. And number 4, the people who are most to blame are all white supremacists. In other words, anything on this planet that is happening to non-white people that shouldn't be happening has to be blamed on the white supremacists. If you try to inch away from that, you're inching away from solving the problem. It means you're telling the world you don't intend to solve the problem, because that's where the problem is. The problem is not anywhere else. The problem is always with the captain of the ship. It's never anywhere else on that ship. Now, you can go around and say that the cook is doing this and that the other sailor is doing that, and this other sailor, he did this, he had a fight with somebody, or now you got 3 or 4 other sailors, and they're down there on the other part of the ship, and they're dead drunk, and they're not carrying out their duties to keep the deck clear, or to scrub the deck, or to clean up the latrines, and all like that. Yes, people can choose to do that. But if they keep ignoring the captain, they're just going to be doing that forever. Prisoners fighting among themselves will do that forever. And that will not hurt the prison system at all. The warden is not affected by that at all, except maybe if they might be making too much noise, and the warden will come down there and knock a few heads together, saying, I can't sleep, because you are fighting down here in the cell block among yourselves about whatever you choose to fight about. And I'm not going to put up with it, all right? So he knocks a few heads together, all right, and they quiet down so that the warden can sleep. But as far as them fighting among themselves in the cell block, the warden doesn't really care. See, because all of y'all are equal to each other anyway. I don't care about what you do, as long as it doesn't disturb the prison system, that we cannot function as prison masters. That's all we care about.
Okay. TalkTainMatRadio.com. We go where you go. Download the TalkTainMatRadio.com app to your cell or to your tablet. That's radio, the way it should be heard. My name is Mr. Bobby. I am the co-host on the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller Jr. We're talking about today nutrition, believe it or not, nutrition as a weapon in the system of white supremacy racism. But at this particular time, we set aside a moment or two for Mr. Fuller to speak about his book, where you can get it and the latest information. Mr. Fuller, please.
Yes. Well, my book, since we've kind of, directly or indirectly, this whole program today was being about, is anything out of order? And if it is out of order, who is most to blame? That's really what we have been saying in this whole 2 hours. Is the nutrition system out of order? Are black people on the basis of shades of color, are they out of order? The non-white people of the planet? Are some non-white people better off than others? Considered to be favorites? Considered to be favorites by whom? Who's doing the favoring? Who is over? Who decides who's going to be favored and who isn't? And the entire book that I have written, and what this program, the whole 2 hours every week, is about, who is to blame? Blame for what? Blame for the condition of the people on this planet. Is there anybody to blame? Is there anybody who should be blamed under the laws of justice? And the answer is, according to what I have written in my book, and what my whole book is about, and what this 2 hours is about, and the next 2 hours, or whatever it is that I say, the blame is with the white supremacists of this planet, period. No deviation from that. Otherwise, we're just talking in a circle, in my opinion. I could be in error. Maybe the blame is somewhere else. Some mysterious creatures from outer space, which some people have said. There are some people who are controlling all this from outer space that we don't even know about. Somebody said that to me recently. But I'm saying it's the white supremacists. They are to blame for everything that is in error among the people that they classify as non-white on this entire planet 24/7 in all of the areas of activity, including the nutrition or anything else that anybody wants to bring up. And that's the premise of my entire book. Now, those who disagree, they can disagree because they don't have to agree just because Neely Fuller wrote a book. But that is my entire assessment. And you can get this book by going to producejustice.com, because I talk about what the victims can do that makes the most sense. And I have suggestions in there about what you can do each and every day, the kind of words that you speak, the things that you say, the things that you don't say. But you always blame the white supremacists as being behind everything among non-white people that happens that should not happen. Now, if you don't accept that premise, there's no point in getting the book, because that's what the book is all about. Not only who is to blame, but what you, as a victim of anything that's in error, can do about it.
Where can we get the book?
Go to producejustice.com. That's producejustice.com. And all the instructions for ordering are there.
Okay.
But that's what the entire book is about. If you don't look at it that way, the book is not for you.
Okay. All righty. Let's go back to the Gmails. This comes from Barbie. She says this: Mr. Fuller, I would like you to ask him what does he think about the Spanish language being the second most popular language in the world?
Oh, I didn't know that.
I didn't either.
The Spanish language is the second most popular language. But what I think about it is, if that is the second most popular language, and the white supremacists speak Spanish, if the white supremacists speak all languages, by the way, or they can learn to speak them, and they will learn to speak them in order to do what? Continue to practice white supremacy. See, the white supremacists don't care what language anybody speaks. Just like, I'm going to use the prison analogy again. If I'm running a prison, and I have people in my prison that speak different languages, I will just master those languages and make sure that those people of color are subject to me in the prison. I don't care how they speak or what they say. I don't care what they do, as long as they are my prisoners, okay, and they conform to the prison rules. So that's, in answer to the question, if that is the answer to the question, by it being the second language or the third language, or if someone comes up with a language that nobody ever heard of, and it becomes the world language. In the system of white supremacy, the white supremacists will just say, oh, we're all going to speak a different language? All I want to know is, am I going to be telling non-white people what to do? And they better do it.
Yeah.
In whatever the language is. So I don't care nothing about language. I'm just looking for tools to do what I do. Yes. And what I do is mistreat people of color. Right. If I can continue to do that, I don't care what language anybody speaks.
Okay. Gmail here. Taking into account of history, the history of people lying on black, landing them in greater confinement or dead at the hands of suspected racists or other non-white people, should a person believe a non-white female when they say they have been so-called sexually assaulted by a black male with no evidence? I only use non-white women because I always suspect a white woman is lying. This comes from Mr. Smothers.
Well, in the system of white supremacy, all people are forced to say things that are not true. To start with that. So, sometimes the things have great consequences, and sometimes they don't. But generally speaking, in the system of white supremacy, all people, all of the prisoners who are subject non-white people, subject to the system of white supremacy, are forced to go along with lies. The white supremacist system thrives on lies. And we are taught lies. We are taught how to lie. We are taught to make up stuff that's not true all the time. The history books are full of stuff that is not true, simply not true. In the system of white supremacy, what do you get from a lie? You get what? Confusion. And from confusion, you get all kinds of perpetual mistreatment. And so, you know, you can expect a black female to say something that's not true, and a black male, to react to it by saying something that is true, that's not as powerful as what was said by the black female, because when you say something, anything that's said, true or false, has to be ultimately okayed by whom? The white supremacists, racist man and racist woman. They are the only judges who are listened to on the planet anyway. There's no such thing as a black judge, bottom line, except when there's some type of direct violence. Now you can be a judge there, because, but you're not the ultimate judge, because if you get counter-violent against the white supremacists, they will escalate their violence against you, and you won't be existent anymore.
Yeah.
Okay? So that takes care of that.
Okay.
But as far as using words are concerned, the white supremacists expect everybody to lie, and if you don't lie, they're going to force you to tell a lie about something.
Okay. This comes from Mr. Mahandisi. He says, if you would, please directly tell Mr. Fuller, would you please tell white people to end white supremacy? Verbalize to white people a specific and defined time frame for white people to end white supremacy. The quickest time frame that what is possible, or at least the time frame you deem reasonable for white people to end white supremacy. Please, I asked this of you, Mr. Fuller. Thank you.
The caller is asking me to tell white people to end white supremacy?
Yes.
And give a time frame?
Yeah, a reasonable time frame.
Well, the code says you're supposed to tell white people to do that all the time. In fact, the time frame was when it started.
Yes.
Yeah, that's retroactive, big time. It never should have been. So every white person, if you want to put it in a frame of reference now, here in 2019, on this day, yes, as a victim of white supremacy, every white person is supposed to wake up every morning thinking about how to go about dismantling what is put together, called the system of white supremacy.
All right.
And immediately doing so in their everyday interaction with non-white people.
Okay.
That is a perpetual request anyway. You always want the warden of an illegitimate prison to abolish the prison.
Okay. I'm sorry, Mr. Fuller. They telling me I got to leave it there, but thank you. And thanks for listening, everybody. TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio, and the radio the way it should be heard. We'll see you next Wednesday. Thanks for listening. Thanks for listening to the Compensatory Concept with Mr. Neely Fuller, heard exclusively on TalkTainmentRadio.com, the world's greatest radio.
The most important question in all racial matters is why. One should always ask it.
Radio, the way it should be heard.
You've got the power. The world's greatest radio. TalkTainmentRadio.com.